So, welcome to another episode from Garage to Growth. This is the podcast where we venture into the startup scene here in Berlin and hopefully inspire a few people in South Africa. And today, with my guest is Chef Sibusiso, a man from South Africa who's inspiring the chefs here in Berlin and kind of cooking up a South African sorbet in Berlin. So to just kickstart things off, I would just like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself so people can know who you are and how kind of you've been inspired to kind of go through the chef industry and stuff.
Thank you so much, man. So basically, I'm Sibusiso Mntambo. I come from KwaZulu-Natal. Before I moved to Berlin, I was living in Cape Town for plus minus 10 to 12 years. My journey started basically in South Africa, in Durban, when I learned, I studied my chefing there. I come from a family of, my dad was a pastor, my mom was a nurse, so you can already see there it's about pleasing people, you know, like I really want people to be happy around me, you know, like I did my schooling when the whole democracy and interchanging of things were happening in South Africa. I could say I went to my first pre-primary school, and I was the only black person there. You know, it was kind of scary, but it was.
The first generation.
I mean, it wasn't scary because I was there. You know, like I was there at that moment. But now that I think about it, I was like, I was the only black person in this pre-primary school. You know, like for now, it strikes me. You know, like it makes me think, okay. So you had a lot of advantage on your side. From there, I went to Hillcrest High School, Hillcrest Primary School. I studied my tertiary education with International Hotel School, and there it was mostly learning about French cuisine. And from there, what made me was moving to Grootegeluk Nature Reserve for my tertiary education. Obviously, after my tertiary education, I went to work as a head chef of a golf estate, a very renowned golf estate in KwaZulu-Natal. There I was cooking pies, I was making sandwiches for the halfway house. It's a golf estate, obviously. And it really didn't interest me. It wasn't something that I really enjoyed, you know, because I was trained in French cuisine and stuff. So from there, I was like, I'm going to move to Cape Town. But at the same time, I had the influences from my dad's side, you know, like he's a pastor, but he was also looking after politicians in South Africa. And I had these BEE opportunities where I could just like go and cook for the government. And my dad was like, yeah, this is an opportunity for you.
Take it.
Just take it, you know, like go cook for politicians the rest of your life. And what else do you want? You know? I also had some of my dad's friends. I remember there was a weekend where they invited us to the south of KwaZulu-Natal, and my dad was like, no, we want to take you to a restaurant. It's next to a lake and stuff. And my dad's friend was like, yeah, Sibu, I would like to buy this for you to open a restaurant. And I thought to myself, I just come out of college. I can't just
run a whole
thing on my own, you know, like I need experience. 3 years is experience, but it's not
to run a whole restaurant.
Yeah, and it's not good for your career, you know, like people flourish after 7 years in a career, 8 years in a career, and that's when I decided I need to run away, basically. Run away to Cape Town, and that's where my career started at Grootegeluk Nature Reserve. At the moment, it's last year it was one of the best hotels in Africa, and from Grootegeluk Nature Reserve, I moved on to running my own wine estate in Paarl, which was a very renowned wine estates, and I basically was there alone. At times I remember I had to do like 250 people on my own, prepping for this, and then the boss would get someone in from La Calom or some of these famous restaurants to come and help me plate for these 200 people in a private wine cellar. The good thing I can say about that was like I had the whole wine cellar to myself. So during the night while I was prepping, even though I was working hard, I could go there, grab a 20 KWV bottle and
just chill and relax.
And chill, relax, drink it, prep for these people. And I would say that was the biggest learning point in my life, to be able to maneuver yourself, to know how to prep for 250 people, to know how to set up your station for that. I think that was one of the big, and from there I moved on to other restaurants in Cape Town, and I also worked for an NGO in the Eastern Cape, Lubuto, and from then I moved back to Cape Town again, and I worked different jobs. Those jobs I'd like to not mention because that's where I realized South Africans or Africans that are working in the hospitality industry, especially back in the kitchens, they succumb to a lot of demeaning, or maybe I would say they don't get appreciated as much as if you look at the restaurant industry in Cape Town, for instance. Since I moved there and I was living for 12 years, I'll mostly in this podcast speak about Cape Town. If you hear me say South Africa, that means Cape Town. Because I worked there for a long time. You see that in the restaurants, it's mostly African workers, and then you get your white sous chef and your white head chef. Even in the hotels, it's the same. You can have a flourishing black staff, and when it comes to the management, it's South African whites. I don't know if I can say this in whites.
It's that's what's happening.
I could just say management is white. And that's where I decided I'm not gonna let this go. I'm gonna find people from the location, people that need the help, and bring them into these hotels and teach them how to cook. Because, with Crude Boss, my first job, I realized my head chef had never again went to chef school. And I had studied for 3 years now in culinary arts, and my head chef, who's a white guy, never went to school, never studied for it. His dad said, go to this restaurant, they want you to work there. And he started there, and he went to the next restaurant, and then he was head chef of one of the best hotels in Africa. So for me, this was a mind opener to say, hey, Black people can do this. We just need to give them the opportunity. Just need to take them from where they are, put them in this gallery, put them to wash dishes, and tell them, listen, I want you to be a sous chef or a head chef of this place in the future.
It's that whole notion of anyone can do anything as long as they get the opportunity. Because anyone can be skilled. Just give them a place so they can
give them an opportunity.
So as you spoke about your background and everything else, what was that one thing that sparked this thing of I can be by my own, I can be an actual entrepreneur, work by myself? What was that moment for you that sparked that?
So for me, I never actually, even now, I don't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I'm just someone that's doing it just to do it. Don't fuck around, you won't find out. Fuck around, you find out. I'd say in Germany, the reason why I decided to be an entrepreneur was it was pretty hard coming into Germany. I came to Germany as a chef. Came in as a chef. And I was applying. It took a month. I'm thinking, hey man, I've worked for #1 hotel in Africa. I've worked for #1 hotel in South Africa. This should be easy for me to get a job, I get here, I'm applying, it's a no, it's a no, it's a no, it's a no. And then eventually I end up enrolling into this chef's company. They basically take chefs and they loan them for a day or 2 days, depending. Maybe Soul House needs 2 chefs, 2 chefs to come and help because 2 of their chefs are sick. And I would come in there and I'll do my thing. And people were impressed, I come in there from the chef's company just for 2 days and I'm cooking, people are impressed. And one thing that really got to me was when they would say, could you cook African food for us? Or can you make some African dishes for us? And I thought to myself, I was trained in French cuisine. I have never thought about making African food. And why am I being asked?
Like African food.
They can see my CV, they can see everything. Because when they send you over to the company, they give them your CV so they know, okay, this is what the tasks we can give them. And I thought to myself, they actually don't look at your CV, and that's one of the points where I was like, maybe I should open my own thing, because I'm not recognized as a chef. I'm recognized as an African chef.
Yeah, that can only cook African.
That can only cook
specific
African
food.
Specific food. From there, I decided, okay, you know what? I have to learn my German. I have to get integrated, as you would say in Germany. So I decided, there was a guy that I was corresponding with for a while before I moved to Germany. And this guy was like, yeah, no, come in, I'll give you a chef de partie position. Chef de partie is a position that I did when I actually got promoted to chef de partie while I was studying in the International Hotel School. And when I finished my job, I was a kitchen manager. And then from there, I went to Grootbos as a Tonan chef. Tonan chef, you do everything in the kitchen. You do the grill, you do everything. So basically what connects the kitchen. And then I got this job in Germany, right here, actually, to be honest, across the road, Student Hotel. And this guy, I mean, as much as I didn't want to be a chef de partie anymore, he's the only one that reached out to me, that came back to me and said, do you want this job? And I was like, yeah, of course. At that moment, I was like, I replied back to him after a month of being in Germany. I said, I want that job.
Yeah.
And then I decided to do my German and, to do all of these things at the same time. And at that point, I realized, okay, for now, let me do my German, and then I'll carry on with my starting a business thing in the future.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the thing of when you got here, the setback that you found that you have the skills, you go to school.
The degree of diploma,
yeah. So when you got here, you got the reality of actually getting any jobs. So there's a thing of this called American dream, European dream, where if you're from Africa, you believe if you get skilled enough, you can come here in Europe, you can go to America, and you can get a job in that specific industry. So your perception of it is completely different from what we are sold back home.
So you kind of tend to realize that it's also in the same way of like I came here and I thought the bosses and everything will be different. Like you coming to a first world country, you'll be treated differently, you get paid properly. And when I started going into the industry, I realized it's exactly the same as South Africa. Like there's nothing different. Like you get promised this. Or if you work here, you'll get this, and then after 2 years we'll promote you.
Yeah.
It's the same everywhere. So this is the point where I was like, just open your business.
Start your own thing.
Yeah.
So with your cooking itself, because you mentioned how your first place that you work at, they wanted you to cook African specific cuisines. Mm-hmm. So how is that notion of, okay, you're a French chef, that's what you were skilled in. So how have you involved your cooking to be like, let me cook some African specific food, and how do I interpret my cooking and actually promote my Africanicity in that cooking itself?
In that aspect, I'd like to look at it in a way of the reason why I decided to do South African cooking was because I saw a gap in the market. As a person, you're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to not. I feel like if I was to say, because I'd never thought about cooking African food. In South Africa, I was cooking for the president at some point. I was cooking for private villas where, you serve the Rothschilds, Rockefeller, people, like something really special, like you're thinking, I'm doing this French cuisine thing for a reason. But when I got here, I was like, okay, so what I learned in my country is not really useful here. Yeah. So let me translate it into my country. Let me be proud of something that comes from me and my country. So it was kind of a very easy thing to just turn my cooking into African enriched cooking. Like for me, I feel like there was no transition as such. It was just like I had to just think how my mom used to cook the jeque, the steamed bread. Then I kind of communicated it to each other, and I thought, okay, there's no real Southern African cuisine in Berlin, so let me just do that, because food is food. Like I don't need to classify myself as a South African chef. But at this point, I was like, I can do South African food.
Yeah. So that's basically the fact that here it's called a South African cuisine.
Yeah.
Where if you're in South Africa, it's just food.
It's food.
So like as a South African and as an African, we have this weird notion of promoting other people's cuisines, where when it comes to our own food, we don't promote it as much. So how has that been different here in Berlin, where your food is classified as a cuisine, but when in South Africa, it's just food?
In Berlin, it's funny how like you get you get Botswanans. Now I meet Botswanians. I meet people from Namibia that are so proud to see me there. This kind of resonated the thing, and it made me fall in love with what I'm doing. Like now I want to do this more, and to transfer it to now, I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing. Like this now is what makes me happy, to see South Africans, to see tourists that have been in South Africa coming back and saying, I never thought I would see chakalaka in German, Germany, it makes me really happy to see this.
Yeah, it's always, I think once you leave home, it's only when you start missing specific foods from your home. Like I think when I've been here for like 5 months now, and there's times that I'm like, if I can find a maize meal somewhere, I could cook pap easily. I just need to figure out what shop has it.
Funny enough, I'm gonna do a little bit of a cooking experience afterwards, and you can see maize meal.
Where do you get it?
No, you can buy it. It's amazingly cheap. I mean, you can get
Amazon?
it. Yeah, at Amazon you can get it for €7, 2 kg pap.
So I'm like, I'll cook pap by myself if I have to, just to crave, just to like, at least I had something from home, because I can cook it myself. I don't really, like, you only miss these things when you leave home. At home, I think at home I would spend like maybe 2 years without even eating part.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's fine. I don't need to worry about it.
But I mean, you miss that baked bean vibe. You miss that liver vibe. You don't even know that you miss it. Yeah. But until you in here and you're like, I've got a hangover, and how can I solve this? I need some chili and some liver, and you can't find it anywhere. It's one of the things that I thought it was great. Like I mean, last year we did this weekend sort of where I did a dinner where I did pies for South Africans. I did stuff that South Africans love, like cook sisters and all that stuff. And for breakfast, I had liver. People could come either for the dinner or come for the brunch. Where you had biltong over your waffle, and biltong butter over everything. People cherish that stuff.
Yeah. It's when it's not around, that's when you're like, I had it good. Okay, so with your startup itself, how do you use that to promote cultural exchange and fostering this deeper understanding and appreciation of South African cuisine?
Well, with the cultural exchange, I'd like to think of it as I like to give the cultural exchange. I like to leave it to itself, because for me, culturally, I feel we don't endeavor to give ourselves the cultural exchange. Okay, if I was to explain it properly, for instance, the Afro Food Festival. So there's an African Food Festival here, and I like to look at it as how we exchange our cultures. So there you have your Nigerian food there. You have West African. I don't want to say Nigerian. You have your West African food. You have your food from Mali. You have your food from Nigeria. I feel that this is where we are able to express ourselves culturally.
Yeah.
I feel this is where, as Africans, we need to, in these situations, put our efforts together to create something that's more together. And I find in these food festivals, there's a lot of bickering. For me, I feel like we should, in this situation, this is where we should, as entrepreneurs, come together and
create a mini community.
Create a mini community where we'll share ideas. Like, I don't want to be creating a jollof rice bowl and from, as a South African, then someone says, why are you doing this? This is from Nigeria, So I feel like we need to let go of our culture, and as a diaspora in Berlin, look at it as cultural exchange, basically.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where we, as Africans, we're okay when our own things are taken by other groups, but when other Africans take our things and kind of put a twist on it, you're like, why are you stealing our things? Like, it's a weird thing as Africans.
I mean, in that point, it's like I created this one dish called, we call it the Affrontini. Mm-hmm. So it's a take of arancini from Italy. Obviously, it's a risotto bowl with cheese inside and crummet, and and then you have sauce on the side like a Napolitana or something. You dip it in there. It's so nice.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to create this dish because I knew it was a fight between Ghana. It's a fight between Nigeria. It's a fight between Sierra Leone. Who creates the best jollof? So I thought to myself, why don't I just go and learn from a mama how to cook a perfect jollof? And someone taught me how to. And take that, make it into a bowl, put some cheese inside, and crumb it, and call it an Afroncini.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like this is what we all have our roots. We all will always have the jollof. We will always have the usu. We will always have the tribe, from our countries. I like to take tribe and put it in the spring roll, and when someone from South Africa sees, oh, you've taken tribe, put it in the spring roll, is that okay? But when they taste it, they're like, this is amazing. It's the same as when I give this to someone from Sierra Leone, or I give this to someone from Ghana, and I say, taste this jollof ball.
Mm.
I don't need to say where I'm from. They taste it, they put it in the peanut sauce, they're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I think if we take the where the person comes from out of it, because if you look at Europeans, they don't look. You can make an arancini as a German. No one, as long as it's good. You know what I mean? So I think that's what we should strive for, to take our African ingredients, put them together, and
no borders.
No borders.
Enjoy what's African. Spread it amongst ourselves. Mix it up, remix it.
Yeah.
That creates creativity. That's what creativity is. So that's a good thing. How do you see entrepreneurship, the export itself? How can that empower independence in terms of South Africa, and then not just South Africa, but individuals themselves?
Well, as I said, I don't really look at myself as an entrepreneur, but in general, I feel like what I'm doing here could be probably reflected in a way of I could take my experiences from here and what I've received as a person, and what I've learned, and the ingredients and the equipments that I've come across here. For instance, with the food truck and stuff, like I realized it's a booming industry here.
Yeah.
Like, and in South Africa, this is not happening. We haven't taken this food truck thing to a different level. Also we haven't experimented on how we can make our food smaller to accommodate people just having snacks. For instance, I don't know if I'm jumping on a point now, but I feel like I've always thought about this idea of having a solar paneled bakery in the locations, and this was my plan before I left South Africa. Actually, solar panel bakeries, where a mama can come and in the morning come and cook, come and bake bread with seeds, bread with this, and all I give them is the equipment, and I give them the ingredients.
Yeah.
And in that way, we are defeating diabetes, because now I'm giving them whole wheat bread. I'm not giving them this bread that like stuffs up your stomach and you feel full for 2 hours. But I'm just giving them wholesome seeds and stuff like that. So I feel like as someone that is here, I want to take that knowledge that I've gotten here and bring it back to our people.
Okay, so as you've stated a few challenges that you had when you first came here with regards to looking for a job and all that, but now since you've gone solo, what were those challenges that you face now that you've gone solo? Not just someone who's gone solo, but as a Black individual in a European country that's attempting to go solo. What barriers did you face, and what did you have to overcome?
Oh, well, I mean, the business is not a restaurant. The business is not like so established at the moment. So now the challenges I've been fighting with is with all these markets that I've been going through. It's just to get your foot in the door. That's one of the biggest challenges. to be able to get that Christmas market that lasts for 2 months, to be able to say, hey, I'm in the Christmas markets and I'm going to make money for this season. I've struggled with that as an entrepreneur here.
Yeah.
And also I feel like it's the struggle of countries. You know, like if you go to these markets, if you go to these places, you feel like you're in a competition, but I'm not really wanting to be in a competition. I don't want to compete with the West African food. I don't want to compete with this. With people from Ghana. I just want to create an atmosphere where people feel I can taste everything from every country, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like, that's one of the challenges we have these days is in Europe. I've not been an entrepreneur really in
South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the European context is a weird one.
It's a little bit harder in a way because now you also have to fight with the regulations, the bureaucracy that comes behind it. Like, for instance, in South Africa, I could open a business and work the business from my house. Here, you're not allowed to do that. You could actually be put in jail just for cooking from your house or whatever. So these are small things that you really realize, oh wow. But also Germany facilitates entrepreneurship. They fund you, they give you that time, you know, they give you the money for 6 months. They say, you want to open your own business? We're gonna pay you 1,300 euros every month until your business is blooming. So there's a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of positives in Germany.
Yeah. So on the sense of government, do you think as South Africans or as Africans, do we need to step away from this over-reliance on our governments? Since here, you as you specified, there's support provided, but at the same time, in an African context, that support is non-existent.
Oh, this is a big issue. So, I mean, South Africa. Let me start here. We've got something called the South African Chefs Association. This is recognized by the government, and it's the Chefs Association, but it's run by old white men. And I feel like they never had the inclination to, because I mean, if you look at the restaurants in South Africa, in Cape Town, as I said, I'll be speaking more. Most of the staff in Cape Town, the staff in the kitchens, is black people, and then you have 2 white leaders at the top. But if the South African Chefs Association would notice that most of our chefs are black, so why don't we give more opportunity to the black people, and we open up space. We say, if you've worked in this industry for more than 2 years, we go check in restaurants. If you've worked more in this industry for more than 2 years, we will fund you to go and get an education in this culinary arts that you want to do. I feel like that is one of the first steps, but also the first steps is for the government to just create their own chefs association for black people, where we as black people can share, we as black people can have our own centers where we can say we want aspiring chefs to come and learn for 6 months, and then we send them off. You know, like, I feel like also the government doesn't see that there's so many black people that are going to these very expensive white chefing schools, Prolive, International Hotel School, which I went to. They don't see that there's so many of these people that have been trained for 3 years, 4 years in this arts, and they all are gone from South Africa. They're in the yachts. If you go to anyone and you ask them who are the most chefs in the yachting industry, in the cruise lines, and it's South African chefs, because we're trained, we've given the skill and we can't do anything in our country because there's no way to grow up. So you find that in the cruise lines, in the yachts, it's South Africans. South Africans are comfortable there because they're making enough money. They go back home, they spend the euros, they spend the dollars, but the government is losing out.
Yeah.
It's losing out on opportunities from, I feel like, as a South African chefs, they get the diploma, they study, they work in South Africa for 1 year. And while they're working that 1 year, they're looking, where can I get more money? What do? They go to cruise lines, they go to France, they go to Switzerland, go to the Alps, and that's how we lose our talent in South Africa.
Yeah.
In Africa in general, So I feel like government has a role to play. Government needs to create a chefs association. Government needs to open up doors to say, hey, we are creating this as the tourism department in our government. We want to create a small school, 6-month school for people to study. And after those 6 months, you have to work in this country. We've given you the skills. You have to work in this country for a year. People will get their head chef positions. People won't leave the country, I feel.
Yeah. I think it's an African-centric issue where our governments have kind of turned a blind eye to the skill sets.
But if you look at South Africa and Cape Town, it's the Cape Town runs on tourism.
Yeah.
So why don't we nurture that?
Yeah. It's a weird thing where talent is there. We have skills, but the facilities to cater to those skills are somewhat lacking, which kind of leaves people the opportunity of, let me get out of my country. And then you get the government going, oh, we don't have labor. I'm like, you're not providing the labor with opportunities. So what do you want us to do? To sit at home and then complain? So it's a big issue that the whole of Africa has. That's why the whole notion of the African brain drain is such a big thing.
It is a brain drain. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a big issue. So as we're coming to the end of the podcast, I would just like you to, if there's one thing you would like to impart on like inspiring chefs who want to be going to the industry or want to go solo, what advice would you provide to them in terms of what you can do?
In this aspect, for me as a chef, so I'm a chef. I know I'll always have a job. As a chef, you will always have a job. So first of all, that's one of the things I have to say. If you feel like you can't find a career as someone that's coming out of high school, take chefing. You'll always have a job in this world. But also I feel like as chefs that have trained and are South African and predominant, I'm speaking to the black chefs, I feel like let's go back to our country. Let's give people, because as soon as you have the basics of cooking, you have food for the rest of your life. In Africa, in Europe, anywhere. Like as soon as you know how to do chefing, you sort it for life. So I feel like as chefs ourselves, we need to form organizations. We need to build structures for young people that want to do this. And I know most of the chefs, they see the problems around, but most of the chefs that are in South Africa now, they just want to feed their families.
Yeah.
They just want to get through the next. That's why we also have this big thing with mental health in the hospitality industry in South Africa, because people just want to feed the families. They don't want to grow more. They don't want to do more but they're getting enough money to actually feed the families, go get drunk, and do all these other things. But no one is giving them the opportunity to say, listen, I mean, instead of getting drunk, can you just teach this young person in your township how to cut veggies? And if they know how to cut veggies, when they go for that interview, the interview in that hotel as the lowest position, they can cut the veggies and they will get that job. And as soon as they get the job, that's the whole life set.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like as chefs in South Africa, we need to come together and we need to create jobs.
Yeah. It's definitely the biggest issue in the country where, well, the high unemployment rate in the country is there. It's creating opportunities for other people.
I mean,
so, yeah.
I mean, for me as well, there's a lot of things that I feel need to be done. For instance, in Berlin, I'm looking into opening a kitchen for African chefs. So my idea behind this is to have a big space, create 5-minute kitchens, and in those 5-minute kitchens, we have our West African food, we have our Southern African food, we have East African food, and from there we have a little test kitchen, a little test sitting area there where people can come and taste food from West Africa. This is in one space. You know, you create the space for people for Europeans to taste the food, you know, like to taste all the African food. Because if you look at European food, it's not really from Germany. It's not really food from, it's a mixture, a collective of everything. So I feel like also just to bridge the gap between your traditional African food and your fine dining African food, I feel like a kitchen like this where I would want to be in charge of this kitchen. Yeah, you have your different chefs from different places, but I would like to check the standards, to check how people present their food before they take it out into the test kitchen. And also we'll be serving Lieferando, you know, we'll be serving vaults, you know. But I mean, for instance, just imagine you have your South African kitchen, you have your thingy, and in the South African kitchen you have two main dishes, like big dishes, and then you have 2 creative dishes which are created to look like, I don't want to say to look like fine dining or African or European food, but I mean to look presentable, because mostly what you see in Europe is you go to a restaurant and you see this African food and you see rice, jollof rice, chicken, and a stew.
Yeah.
You know, so we also need to bridge that gap and have fine dining.
Yeah.
So imagine you sit in a restaurant where you could be like, I want to taste the jollof with everything, but I also want to taste the jollof that's in a bowl that I can pick up with my hand and put into my peanut sauce. So this is my idea of we create a hub, also a music hub as well for music, food. I mean, all of this in one space.
Yeah, create cultural exchange.
Yeah, cultural exchange, not just between German and Africa, but also just between Africa and Africa in Berlin.
That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. I look forward to seeing its
fruition. I mean, iSIMO is growing, and I think we've kind of proved ourselves that we are doing with the help of my wife.
Yeah,
she's amazing. But we've kind of proved ourselves that we want. This is what we're about. This is what we want to do. But now we've looked into the aspects of we need funding if we really want to grow this. Yeah. So now I think we have the Facebook profile, we have all of this, and now we just need to put it together. And
yeah. So this is the end. Thank you so much for being here. So If you would like to share where people can find you, that would be great. So people know where to look for you. Instagram page, Facebook page. If you have a website, you can do that.
I think basically maybe the best would be to give you my details. You can put it under the podcast thing, but also iSIMO Culinary Situations on Instagram is where you'll find us. Even on Facebook, we haven't yet managed to put a website together, but coming soon. Watch this space. I'd like to say thank you to everyone that is listening to this, and I would like to say there's also one more thing that I would like to emphasize. As iSIMO, I don't know if I should say as iSIMO, but there's the kitchen in Berlin that we want to do, but there's also the project in the Eastern Cape that I am very invested in. I'm actually going to buy land in the next coming few months. So I want to open a hotel school. So for me, as South African, I've always thought I want to find the poorest area in Africa, in South Africa, and I want to build something there. So for me, I've always looked at the Eastern Cape when it comes to, like in Cape Town, you've seen the robots. And then we say robots.
Yeah.
Instead of traffic lights. You see people with, I need a job. So my thing in the beginning, I was like, what if from the base where they're coming from, I managed to because Cape Town is about tourism. What if I managed to give people a 6-month training course about food and how to start a business, and before they finish the matric, they go to Cape Town with some skills. So this is my next move. I really want to go to the Eastern Cape. There's a friend of mine, Mava, who's a DJ. He wants to open a music school there. We're buying land together, and we just want to give people skills before they move into the city.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a great initiative.
Yeah, I mean, and also if it's an NGO, that means they don't have to pay for this.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, definitely looking forward to the initiative and looking forward to the ideas that you have. So yeah, that is it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. So we're
I
done.
wish there was more time.